Hi, I'm Jimmy. In this video, we're going to run through how to analyze an annual report. Now, I'm hoping to keep this process fairly simple, so even if we're beginners to investing or beginners to analyzing companies, we should be able to use this process to help us better understand a potential investment. The goal of this video is for us to better understand what's important to look at when we're reading an annual report and what's a good order to go about tackling a brand new company. If we're looking to analyze a company for the first time, what's the process to go about that? And hopefully we can use this information to try to better understand companies and hopefully use that information to pick better investments and ideally get us closer to our goal of achieving financial freedom. Okay, now I'm also very proud to announce that this is actually my second sponsored video. We get a lot of offers for sponsored videos now that we're over 100,000 subscribers. The channel gets a decent amount of offers, but some of them I really just don't like. This sponsor for this video is actually the same video sponsor we had from the last time, called Borsa Earnings Calls. And basically it's a way to listen to companies' earnings calls, sort of like you would listen to a podcast. It's free, it's an easy app to use, but we'll touch more on that in a moment. So for now, let's jump into how to read an annual report. Now, I'm going to use Apple as a tentative example as sort of the template for what we're doing, but you could apply it to any company. This is what Apple's table of contents looks like for their annual report, also known as a 10K. Now, the very first section I like to go to is the business section. The business section is a great way to get a better understanding of the company's background and how the company looks at their own business, because they usually, in fairly plain language, describe what their business is all about. So the company can also break out what the company sells. Maybe they segment them by perhaps product type or product category. They could also break them out by region. Maybe they break it out by country or continent or something along those lines. But they usually give you a good understanding of what the company does and how to segment. And the good part is this section generally isn't all that long. Apple, as an example, their business section is just 4 pages, and they break out their revenue according to the products that they sell. So it's a nice clean way of doing it. And then after we're done with this one section, well, now we get to make a decision. So is this a company that we're interested in investing in? We get to ask that question. If it's not, perhaps we're reading about it and it doesn't seem like a business that has a great future, well, we can just not read any further. We could simply eliminate the company, which is a great option to have since we don't have to swing at every investment opportunity that we come across. We read about as many companies as possible until you only find the handful of companies, a few dozen companies, whatever ends up being, that you really love, but you get that by going through many different companies. Okay, now the next section we're going to want to read in our annual report is Management Discussion and Analysis. Sometimes you might hear this called MD&A for short. And basically what this does is this is the management's opportunity to get more numbers behind what they do. The business section really describes what the business is trying to do, and the MD&A section is trying to explain how they're actually doing. What's their performance actually been like? What's their plan? Things along those lines. Maybe they even talk about some of their competitors. So if you've seen some of our videos on this channel where we analyze a different company, well, oftentimes it's this section of the annual report that allow us to create the charts where we're breaking out the business by segments or talking about the revenue within different business lines or different regions. This is where a lot of that information comes from. Now, this is also where I like to listen to the earnings call. Now, I find that earnings calls and the management discussion and analysis section often go over a lot of the same information. So this is a natural segue into the Borsa Earnings Call app. By the way, if you're curious, I've got a link for the app in the description below for both Android and Apple devices. So if you want to go download it, just click over there. Like I said, it's free. But one of the things I like about this app is that you can create watch lists, you can see future earnings calls, you can listen to any investor presentation pretty much that they're putting out on the internet. This app gets a lot of them. So I think it's a really great app and it's free to use and it's easy. It's, like I said, it's very simple, sort of like listening to a podcast. And one of the advantages to listening to the call versus just reading the management discussion and analysis is that you get to hear their tone. You get to hear the company's tone. You get to hear questions that analysts ask that the company maybe wasn't ready for. So you get to hear their reactions to all of that. So I think that this listening to an earnings call coupled with reading the management discussion and analysis can be a great combo as to truly understanding the business. Okay, now moving back to, frankly, it's now another decision point in our analysis. Do we continue to like the company? If we do, we move on to the next step. If not, once again, eliminate it. We're always looking for reasons to eliminate companies, because if you eliminate all the bad ones, in theory, you're left with only the good ones. So assuming we like the company, well, we now move over to looking at some of the numbers. Now, this part of the investment analysis is a bit tricky and it can be a bit more skill-based. Generally, the more we understand about how companies are supposed to report earnings, the more effective we can analyze financial statements. But there are some tricks that we can use that even beginning investors who know very little about accounting there's a process you can go about to make it understanding the business simpler. So first, let's pull down the income statement. This is Apple's income statement for the end of 2019. So personally, what I like to do is I like to convert some of these numbers over to percentages. They call this common size analysis. Here's what I mean. So we start with their revenue. And Apple was kind enough to break their revenue into the products that they're selling. So they have products and they have services. So if we were to divide the products revenue by total revenue, well, then we end up with about 82% for 2019. So now we know that product sales accounted for about 82% of revenue in 2019. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Well, we don't really know. Right now, it's just a reference point. So what if we did the same thing for 2018 and 2017? Well, now we can see that product sales have actually declined on a percentage of total revenue from year to year. Now, that's not necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. Management might very well have a good plan as to why that's happening. But it is an interesting thing to note, and it's really you can only really tell that by doing this type of analysis. Now, what if we apply the same thing to Apple's gross profit margins? Well, gross profit margins are about 38% when compared to total revenue for the year. And we can see when we look at the other years, that's been fairly consistent. Once again, we can repeat this process for net income. Once again, in Apple's case, we see good consistency, at least over these past 3 years. Now, if we wanted to go a bit more in depth, well, it could make sense to go back and look at some older annual reports and create these very same charts that you might see in some of the videos that we've done on this channel where we analyze a company. This is how you can do that. We can look at what is the total percentage and what is the actual trend. Okay, now we're going to shift over to the balance sheet. And I'm actually going to break the balance sheet into different sections just because the balance sheet is really long. It's tough to fit on the screen. So the first section of the balance sheet is assets. And what we're looking at here is we're looking for total assets. That's right down here. And then once again, we can convert any one of these numbers as a percentage of total assets. Now, we could then compare these results to calculations from previous years, or perhaps we would feel more comfortable with comparing it to a competitor. We could do the same thing for everything we looked at on the income statement. The point is, by coming up with percentages, well, it doesn't really matter how large the company is. That's why they call it common size analysis, because by breaking it into percentage, well, now we can see it's much cleaner to see how this company is doing against another company or how segments do from year to year. So I think it makes sense to do both. Look at both how the company does compared to itself and find a close competitor and try to compare it to that. Okay, simple enough. Now we're actually going to lock in this total assets number down here at the bottom. And then we're going to switch this to the liability section of the balance sheet. Now, once again, the same math applies. We can take any one of these line items that we decide, we can compare it to total assets. And just like that, we might be able to look at how much they owe versus how many assets they have. Now, I also want to point out that we can mix and match how we compare numbers. In this case, I'm using total assets, and that's a very good place to start. But you might also hear people compare, let's say, current liabilities to current assets. Well, they call this the current ratio. It's a very good number to use. So you can mix and match how you're comparing it, as long as you want to do the same thing throughout time if you're comparing it to time. Or to competitors, if you're doing that, compare it to the same data points. You can also compare it to total revenue or for perhaps profit. So there's lots of ways to slice this. I personally, income statement, I like to start with total revenue. Balance sheet, I like to start with total assets and then break things down from there. So then we would do the same thing for the equity portion of the balance sheet. I would compare that to total assets. Okay, now we shift over to the cash flow statement. Now, for the cash flow statement, I like to start with total revenue as the comparison number, break down the percentages. And if you ever download all this stuff to Excel, well, it becomes real easy to compare numbers into, drag and drop formulas. So for cash flow statement, I generally like to start with total revenue when I'm coming up with some comparison points. So in Apple's case, we take the total net sales, and then we compare that to, let's say, the operations portion of the cash flow statement. So now we can run the cash flow numbers against total sales. Now, personally, common size analysis is a fantastic thing to do. But sometimes on the cash flow statement, I also like to look at the numbers, sort of the hard numbers, to see how they actually look, to see if that tells us anything interesting. For example, cash flow from operations. Well, this is one of the key numbers. This is how much cash the business generated from ordinary operations. And generally, we want this number moving higher through time. And then when we switch over to the investing and finance sections, these are on the cash flow statement as well. They're below the cash flow from operations section. Well, now we can see some interesting things. We can note that Apple has been buying back shares on a fairly regular basis. We can also see that they've paid out some dividends. Those dividends have increased each year. Then we can also see that they've issued some shares. That's why this number has gone up, although this number is fairly low relative to the rest of their numbers. So I'm guessing because this number is so low, this is probably somehow tied to stock options that were exercised by employees or management or the board of directors, whoever it was. But if we're not sure, and if we want to dive deeper into any one section of the financial statements, well, oftentimes in the footnotes of the financial statements, the footnotes will explain what happened or what accounting methodology they're using. So even if we're brand new to investing, reading the footnotes about a section that perhaps looks unusually large or something along those lines, reading the footnotes can be a smart thing to do because sometimes they'll explain it for us. And if nothing else, it'll certainly make it easier to Google what a particular line item is supposed to do. Now, at this point in time, we should have a good idea, a good understanding of what the business does, what their potential is, and whether or not we think that they're a fundamentally sound business. So again, we get to make another decision, because after this, there are only a few other statements that could be interesting to look at. We've already looked through the annual report, so there's only a few other things. The earnings calls are a good place to start. We'd want to try to come up with a fair value of whatever we think that company is, because once we know, okay, we like the company, the next question is, where do we buy it? We'd like to probably look at some of their press releases, perhaps some news. Now, I actually did another video similar to this one, where I go beyond just the 10K or the annual report, and I go through the process, the entire research process. So if you're curious, perhaps that could be a good next video for you to watch. I got a link right here. I got a link in the description below. And don't forget, go download the free Borsa Earnings Call app. I got links in the description below. And thank you so much for sticking with me all the way to the end of the video. I really appreciate it. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.